One thing I realized is pain in the small part of the body will affect the body as a whole. For example, I had meniscus surgery in my right knee 2 times, and even though it was successful, I had it explained to me I would suffer from intense arthritis in 10 years. Then if I would have taken the painkillers prescribed to me, I may have become an addict like so many others. My whole life would have been destroyed. This segment of the complete stretching routine is to help you avoid life-altering injuries, procedures, and medication that have the possibility of changing life as you know it. I give no guarantee that this will work, but if you try it and it does not work, you have not lost anything. The poses in this segment cover multiple areas in the body that need to be stretched in order to avoid complications in the future. This motion called wacky rowing helps when it comes to maintaining the range of motion in my shoulder. About 3 years ago, I had a damaged rotator cuff. The intense pain with a grinding sensation in my shoulder affected my quality of life. I had it explained to me that if I did not have surgery and then painkillers, I would have to live with limitations that would alter my physically active lifestyle. Needless to say, this freaked me out. Now with this pose, it has some strength development to the arms. This gives a different range of motion and also strengthens the back and the shoulders. The nice thing about this pose is there is resistance strength training to the biceps and the hands. The strengthening action with this pose is happening in the neck all the way down the back. With the neck and the back pain that I was having, I developed this pose with the same concept that Cobra pose has. If you notice in Cobra, the back and the neck is being stretched in a reverse fashion. You will find that with this stretching routine, I target areas in multiple directions to give the body the type of relief that it is desperately needing. Now let's wacky it out. As I slowly go into this pose, I feel the stretch happening in the side lower portion of my back. I bring my hand farther out on the mat and put my other hand on my knee to hold it down. When I reach out, I feel the stretch happening all the way through my arm. This stretch also targets my lower back. Lower back pain was something that was beginning to affect my life in so many ways. Going to the other side, I utilize my alignment lines to keep my stretch accurate. We must have pose integrity to really have positive effects with our stretching routine. Another issue that I was having with arthritis in my hands. The pain would be so bad that I felt like my hand was on fire. I was having to wear copper compression gloves that would give me some type of relief, but the pain definitely affected my quality of life. During this whole stretching routine, you will see that I target the hands many times. While going into the stretch and I stop to breathe in, I spread my fingers as far apart as possible. We are doing things with our hands that are repetitious on a daily basis that affect them in a negative way. As I bring my arm up, the stretch begins to happen on the inner portion of my torso all the way up to the hand. It is so important that you make sure your hand remains behind you. The way I do this is have my hand pointed behind me. This helps me keep my arm from going forward so the stretch is accurate. We must remember our slow, mindful breathing. As you breathe in, you will feel the expansion from your lower torso all the way up your arm. I also feel the expansion happening down my arm and through my hand that is on the mat. With my fingers spread apart like this, my hand is being pushed down, giving me a really great stretch throughout my fingers. Now let's go ahead and wacky it up. Reaching my hand to the top of my knee, I use my alignment lines behind me for accurate placement of my hand. As I stop to breathe in, you notice my hand is spread apart so I can work once again on my hand health. Then as I breathe out, I take my hand on the top of my knee, spread my fingers open, and put my hand behind the knee with my fingers spread on the mat. It is very important that when you turn your head that it is level. Make sure your head is not tilted left or right and your chin is not up or down. The obvious areas this stretch is affecting is the neck and the back. I like to pretend there is a string attached to the top of my head pulling me straighter. If I have my posture on point, I can actually feel the stretch all the way up the back of my head. I know this stretch has helped my neck tremendously since I do not have to use my massager anymore. As we switch sides, I want to address the action this pose is having on the hands and the arm. When I place my hand behind me, I go far enough so that when I relax, my hand is being pushed slightly forward, spreading the fingers even wider apart. Then my fingers on the other hand are being spread since I push slightly down on the mat and anchor my arm against my leg. When it comes to your slow, mindful breathing, a lot is happening every time you breathe in. The hand behind me is being pushed forward, causing the fingers to be spread farther apart. Then the hand in front of me is being pushed down, giving this hand a different stretch to help target the hand as a whole. With this stretch, we cover the neck, back, hands, arms, and shoulder. Cool. All right, let's wacky it out again. This pose was developed from a pose I saw someone do. When I did it like they showed, I found after about 2 weeks that I was having shooting pains up the side of my neck. With keeping your posture and making sure your head does not go forward or backwards, you will feel the stretch from behind your ear, down your neck, through your shoulder. Notice once again that my fingers are spread apart. As I bring my hand over the knee, I use it more as a guide to make sure that I am facing straight forward. As I prepare to stretch the other side, I will explain all that is happening. This whole stretch begins with targeting the neck area, and it is important to be careful in this area. The neck is very sensitive, so take it gradually. With spreading my hand apart, we are targeting hand health, but once again, placing it in the center of my back helps with my posture. I feel this stretch really intensify with my hands like this. Then bringing my hand over the knee, it targets the shoulder on the other side of my body. You will feel the stretch in all of these areas every time you breathe in. The expansion will give you benefits throughout your body with slow, mindful breathing. All right, let's wacky it out again. As I am going into the next pose, there is something very important to follow. I am showing the direction the pose must go for this side. The leg positioning must remain consistent on both sides to make the stretch completely accurate. When we stretch the other side, it will make more sense. As I breathe out, I go into the pose. Then as I breathe in, I stop and begin to feel the stretch happening in the lower part of my back. I also feel a stretch happening on the outside of my knee on the opposite side. Be very careful because this area has some tendons that can be damaged. I then grab my knee and put my nose next to the thumb when I breathe out. Doing this helps me stay aligned in this pose. Make sure that you sit flat to get the most out of this pose. When I come up out of the pose to stretch the other side, do not use the leg muscles to lift the legs. I lift them with my arms since we have been sitting in this position for a while. The reason I am changing the way I sit is to keep the stretch consistent on both sides like I mentioned before. As I feel the stretch happening in the back, there are times that I do not put my hand on my knee. I find that with my hand on my knee, I am able to stretch the arm farther, giving me a better stretch in the shoulder. When I have both hands out, I get a better expansion down the back. Both ways are beneficial, so it is cool to switch it up at times. As I come out of the pose to do the final stretch, I once again lift my knees with my hands and not the strength of my legs. I then wrap my arms around my knees into this locking position to bring them closer to my chest. This slight rotation of my feet gives a workout to my meniscus in my knee. I do this because I had some serious problems with my meniscus in both of my knees. My left knee had been operated on 2 times, and my right knee was popping out of place, and I was told I was going to need surgery in that one also. As I stretched more and the problem with my right knee stopped, I knew it was a good idea to have some type of minor strength training to my knee area. You have now covered many areas of the body that may have never been stretched before. Good job, and be safe.